Next, from playing the classical music of Shostakovich at the age of 10 at London's Queen Elizabeth Hall, to recording and touring with soul and funk acts Brand New Heavies, Gabrielle and 07, to playing the piano on Adele's #1 album, today's guest seems to have done it all. Several years ago, Neil Cowley brought his secret love of acoustic jazz out of the closet, and so began his remarkable third career. His fourth album with his group, the Neil Cowley Trio, The Face of Mount Molehill, has just been released. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Now, start by talking about that title, The Face of Mount Molehill. What's it in reference to?
Well, we tend to make the trivial very grandiose, you know, and we sort of take everyday emotions, everyday occurrences, and just turn them into these huge, great fiascos. And I do that anyway because I'm quite a neurotic. And so we made this place up called the Mount Molehill, where a molehill is literally made into a mountain. And the album is all about us climbing it and trying to get to the top.
It's fun. Well, it sounds like you have done that. We're going to listen to Fable off the album. Tell us a little bit about it first.
Fable. Well, Fable is just it's a sort of it's not a particularly descriptive title in contrast to the others. Some of the others are very specific, but this is just that general feeling you have when you're riding over the hillside with the rest of your cavalry to heroic music with your swords blazing. It's that kind of moment.
Okay, let's have a listen to that. This is called Fable. So you're having fun there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That was in a squat in Hackney.
Oh, wow.
We managed to borrow for the day, yeah. And then later on in that video, it's an ever-decreasing room. So the room gets smaller and smaller and we get more and more cramped. And then right at the end, it opens out into this large field, which is actually a field that backs onto the end of my garden. I tell everyone it is my garden so that I look more successful than I actually am. But yeah, it's about compression, just like the track. And then it opens out into this big rocky field at the end.
Let's talk a little bit about how you started out. Now, you've got such an eclectic musical past. Mm-hmm. You started off in classical music at the age of 10, then you kind of had these rock years in the 90s. How did you find jazz?
Well, jazz sort of found me, really, in a sense. I was with this group, and it was signed to a record company that went very bust, and we ended up with no money. And I thought, well, this is a good moment to do, you know, to follow a childhood dream, because there's nothing else to do at this point. And so I'd been sort of throughout the 90s, as you say, I'd been involving myself with all sorts of different types of music, never really finding where I was at. But I realised, you know, six years ago that what I do best is to play the piano and play it live and play it in a very live environment where everything happens just at once and you've only got one chance of making it right. So really, I wanted to play piano and I wanted that bass and drums thing behind me. So it started to look like a jazz trio. So I've got something that definitely looks like a jazz trio, but it sounds like every piece of music I've ever heard compressed into this one thing.
I bet the jazz purists don't like that, do they?
Yeah, I've had problems with those. Yeah. It does happen occasionally that we do upset them, but you know, it's ultimately I think we're succeeding at winning them over.
Well, one critic said actually your music should be tested out on teenagers. Do you think young people think jazz is old people's music?
Oh, definitely, yes. Yes, they do. And if they're ever going to get a style of jazz, then I think they'll get ours because, you know, we headbang. You know, that's the major difference is we headbang and there's not huge amounts of chin scratching and solos. It's just about rocking out as a band. So I think, you know, that's a teenage ethic in itself. And we're all complete children in the band. I mean, we're old enough to know better by far, but yeah, we're still kids at heart.
Well, the press are even starting to refer to you as a lovable English eccentric. What do you make of that?
Oh, absolutely correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in fact, I've heard someone in France, or I read someone in France, saying that my dress sense was definitely English and quirky. I think that was an insult, but
I'd take it as a compliment.
Absolute compliment. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to play on that. Yeah.
Okay, Neil, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Here in Fox My Cat, and you're back in Paris, aren't you, on the 10th of May at the New Morning?
Absolutely, yes.
To play a concert. So if you are in Paris, I'd advise you to go to that. And the new album is called The Face of Mount Molehill.